Do you ever stop and think and ask yourself, what's life all about? Why are we here? What's this? What are we doing? Are we supposed to be learning something from this experience? Or how are we doing with our lives? I ask myself that a lot, not so much anymore, but used to ask that quite a bit. Why are we here? What's this all about? But as I've been reading God's Word, I'm beginning to understand what that's about and what that means. I was thinking, I've had people ask me, why does God leave us on the earth after we get saved? I mean, wouldn't that be a good time just to take us on out? After we get saved and just take you on to heaven, and we could just start our mission. We can figure out what we're doing, what we're supposed to do, and just take us on out. Sadly, many people live their lives and they never know why. They never know that answer. It breaks my heart to see a world just weaving around and moaning, trying to find a reason for being here, for where they're going, where they came from, and it breaks my heart. Not knowing why you're here cripples you for your better purpose. When you know why you're here, you can more purposefully attack your purpose. You can do what you're here to do when you know, but it weakens your joy if you don't know why you're here. And I think we're seeing a lot of this going on in our world today. People don't know why they're here. They don't know where they're going. In the 10th chapter of Luke tonight, we're going to be looking at, I think we're going to call this the mission tonight, your mission responsibilities. I want to tonight try to explain to you, let you see from God's Word what you're supposed to be doing, why you're here, and what you're supposed to be doing with your life and how you're making that work. So I hope tonight that you can, if you've ever asked that question of why am I here, or why did the Lord leave me here, or why didn't he just take me home? I have a lot of people have asked me that. Why didn't the Lord just take me on home? Because I think they're beat up from the world's from life, and they want to go on. But there's a reason why you're here. Please hear that there's a purpose for this. And will you understand it? Well, not really. And will I be able to explain why the Lord leaves you here? Well, no. But there is a reason. There's a purpose for that tonight. So let's see if we can find out what our responsibilities are. Now, in the first verse of chapter 10, let's just read that, and this will give you an idea of what's going on. After this, the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them 2 by 2s ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go. Now, previously, prior to this chapter 10, the Lord had sent out the 12. They were to go out and prepare the way for him. Now, if you remember, Jesus is up around Capernaum, up around the Sea of Galilee. A lot of Bible scholars tell us that Jesus spent more time around Capernaum than just about any other place during the 3 years of his mission. He was up there a lot. And so he's getting ready now to head toward Jerusalem. And that's a pretty good long walk from Capernaum down to Jerusalem. And there's a lot of little towns along the way. And he sent the 12 out earlier, and they came back. And now he's sending out 72, 2 by 2, and we'll talk about that, to go and prepare a place, prepare the way for him as he moves from the northern part of Israel down to Judah, down to Jerusalem. If you remember, when he sent the 12 out, they found out that Samaria didn't want Jesus to stop there. You remember that? Don't come in here. We don't want him here. And so he didn't. He avoided it. Now, so he sends them out in 2 by 2. Wonder why 2 by 2s? Why not just one at a time? Why does he send them out in pairs? Well, the answer to that is real obvious. It's just better for 2. Let me read you what it says in Ecclesiastes. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they'll keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. That's what Solomon said in the book of Ecclesiastes. So tonight we realize that they're going out 2 by 2 And the lesson that we need to learn tonight is that it's important that we develop relationships. It's important that we have people that we can share our faith with, and they can go out with us and help us and encourage us and lift us up. Now, let me say to you tonight, you are made in God's image. Are you aware of that? And you remember in the book of Genesis, we hear Adam and Eve, that in the Garden of Eden, that the Lord tells them, tells us that they were created in His image. Now, what does that mean, to be created in God's image? Is God anthropomorphic? Does He have hominid features? Does He have arms and legs and heads and ears? Well, not necessarily is that the case, but we're made in the image of God in a spiritual manner. We're like God in that we can commune with Him in spirit and other ways. But our primary purpose on earth, now this is important, our primary purpose on earth, this is above everything else, is to express that image of God in our life. We're to let that image that we're created in His image, we're to express that, to share that, to reveal that to the world around us. So whatever God has put in you, we're to express that and reveal that image. If you'll think about it like this, it helps you. We are to be image God. In other words, the world can't see Him, but we can be His imagers. You see, we've been given the responsibility to image Him in the world today. I want to put it like this, as plain as I can make it. We're not put here to sit and soak. You hear me? We're not put here to do that. We're here to live our lives. We've entered into a great mission experience. We're put on the earth for this grand purpose, something we're here to do. We're to introduce people to Jesus. We're to show the world that Jesus is the answer. We're to point to the world that He is the only way. We're to let that message come out of our life and touch this whole world. We're not saved to sit on the couch. We're not saved to relax and just kick it into neutral and let it coast. We are here to be engaged in the work of the Lord, to be on mission, to do what He put us here to do. We've been given that great mission. Mark says in chapter 16 of the book of Mark, he said to them, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. We're to go into the world. Now, that means that as we're going, while we're on the way, whatever else we're doing, we're to take the message of Jesus and preach it around the world. Now, when we begin to step out, and there's so many of you who are doing this, that it blesses my heart to hear your stories as you talk with me about how you are taking the gospel seriously, maybe for the first time in your life, or maybe you're reconnecting to your mission. And you're stepping out into the world. And I want tonight to talk about what you can expect when you step out for the Lord. What's going to happen? What are things that are going to come your way? This message, as I begin to prepare it, is too big for one sermon again. This is going to be another 2 sermon time to get it all out. But I want to start talking about tonight is what we can expect when we step out for the Lord. When we stand up, when we proclaim to the world that we're a believer, we're following Jesus. What can we watch for? What's going to happen? Well, let's go down to verse 2 and see if we can get an idea here. He told them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into His harvest field. Okay. What I want to say about that is that when you begin to walk for the Lord and you stand up and begin to take the message of Jesus to your family, to your friends, to your community, when you begin to stand up for Jesus, you're going to discover a desperate need for a strong prayer life. Like my brother talked about this past week. You're going to need a prayer life. You're going to need to know how to pray, what to pray for. You're going to need to know to pray without ceasing. In other words, prayer is going to become so vital in your Christian walk. You can't, listen to me, you can't do this without a prayer life that's vital and growing. You can't do this. So he told them to ask the Lord of the harvest. Have you realized that living for Jesus is not simple and it's not easy? It's complicated and it's very hard. In fact, I'm just going to tell you, it's nearly impossible to do what we've been called to do. It's challenging. It's going to require everything we have. We have to bring our best game. We can't just phone it in. We have to really psych up and make this thing happen. So we have to start. It's a challenge, but it's going to require everything we've got. When do we get to move from where do we get this encouragement? Where does this come from? Well, Jesus said simply, you need to ask the Father to send helpers. You need to ask the Father for help. Say, Lord, I can't handle this. I can't do this. You've given me a project, a mission. You've given me a mission field. You've given me people to work with. And Lord, it's over my head. I'm not qualified for this. Well, I know it. None of us are. But we have to pray, Lord, increase my wisdom. Lord, increase my energy. Increase everything, Lord, because without you, I can't do this. And so we've got to begin to ask the Lord for help. The rapid growth of this church is an example of this fact, because when we ask the Lord to help us, to send workers, what He does is He multiplies the harvesters. He sends more people into the harvest. And this church, as I said, is an example of the Lord honoring that prayer. He has sent multiples of people here into this congregation to pick up this work and this message. He's called us all. He's multiplied the harvesters. That's why this church is growing. That's why we baptized 40, 50 people down at the creek a couple of weeks ago, because that's why things are happening good and here in our congregations, because the Lord is sending more harvesters into the field. See, you're not just to come to this church and sit here and sow. You have a purpose and a mission that God is doing some great things through you. Now, the good news of salvation, it kind of swells. It produces a groundswell of growth. And when you begin to tell it, and see, you tell one, and they tell two, and those two tell four, and those four tell eight, and it doesn't just add, it multiplies. And the message of Jesus goes out when we start living for the Lord and telling people about Him. But don't take prayer for granted. God sends us out and He wants us to ask Him for more workers. I have questioned that, and I thought to myself, okay, God, you know I'm going, right? You mean you sent me, right? Now you want me to ask you for more workers? And the answer is yes, He does. Even though He knows our needs, what He's doing, now this is so important, I hope you get this. He is inviting you to partner with Him. You see, He's inviting you into this partnership. He's saying, I want you to go out into the world. You're going to need help. And He's saying, and I want you to invite me into your mission. He's saying, pray, ask for help. In other words, it's not just automatic. He wants you to ask so you can be a full partner. Now, when we begin to stand up for the Lord, as some of you have noticed, there are going to be some risks. You're going to have to accept the possibility of embarrassment, of a prejudicial look at your life, or a questioning look about your sanity, or you're going to have to accept some risks when you step up for the Lord. My whole life, we've been preaching that just come to Jesus, stand up for Him, and everything will be wonderful. But I'd like for somebody to tell me the truth. Don't you? I want the truth. And I'm going to tell you something. It's not easy to stand up for the Lord, and sometimes you're going to take a jab or two, or a disappointment down the road. So it's not a safe sport. Verse 3 says, "Go, I am sending you out like lambs among wolves." Okay. Well, let me tell you, I butchered a couple of lambs 3 weeks ago, and we're going to have some good lamb to eat here some of these days before long. But I know that a little old lamb is a pretty defenseless little thing. I'm not very big and mean, and I could handle a lamb pretty easy. Now imagine what a wolf would do to us, to a lamb. I saw a sticker, I think, on Tommy Claire's truck. It said, coyotes, lamb is good. You have to believe that because millions of coyotes agree with you, or something like that. But they're fragile little creatures. And what I need to tell you is that Jesus says we are like sheep. We're like sheep. We're fragile. Come on, face it. You're fragile. And you're being put into a world where that's full of wolves that will hurt you, could hurt you, and probably will. Now, I have to be honest with you. I have experienced many a stab and sting and bite from the enemy after doing this, what I do for over 50 years. I mean, lots of times it's a difficult, you're going to get hurt. I want you to know that. You're going to be questioned, and everybody thinks you should have done it this way, or I could have done it better, or whatever, and you probably could have, and I probably should have done some things differently. But see, I wish with all my heart that I could make everybody in our church happy all at the same time. But it doesn't work like that, does it? The only way I know to be completely successful is to quit trying to make everybody happy, because I can't do that. I have decided, and I've told you this many times, I just try to make the Lord happy with my life. And you have to either deal with it or whatever. That's your problem. I would rather be hurt living for Jesus than to be safe without Him. I'd rather be hurt. I'd rather take a chance on being questioned and disappointed by somebody being disappointed with me. I'd rather take a chance of not making everybody happy, but I want to make Jesus happy. I want Him to approve of my life. You see, I think about this a lot. Some of these days, we're going to be old. And some of these days, we're going to be sick. We're not old. We're just a bunch of kids. But we're going to be near the end of our lives, more so than now. And we're going to be sitting and we're going to be looking back over our life. And we're going to be thinking, what did I do for Jesus? What did I do enough for Him? When I get to that point, and I hope it's several years off, but when I get there and I look back over my life, I don't want to say, oh, if I only had done this, or if I only had started that cowboy church, or if I only had stepped out on faith, or stood up and, I don't want those regrets to be swinging around in my heart. I want to know that I did what I could do for Jesus. I'd rather please Him than to be safe in what I do. Now, I can promise you that when you go all out for Jesus, you're going to be changed by that experience. You really are. You're going to be changed. When you walk with the Lord for just a short amount of time, you become a different person. When we're saved, we're called born again. And as that journey progresses, we literally become another person. So, can I tell you that safety is an illusion anyway? Did you know that? There's no safety in this world. There's nothing safe. You think, well, I'm just gonna stay home. Well, you'll fall in the bathtub and hit your head, Or, there's no safe place in this world. So you're going to have to give up on that. You're not coming to Jesus for safety. You're coming to Jesus for joy, for power, for love, for all those wonderful things. So just get that straight. Give me a life lived for Jesus with all the dangers that may be. I want no other life than to live for Him. Whatever that means, whatever that costs me. Okay, the third thing I want to talk about tonight is when we stand out for the Lord and begin to take our mission and seriously begin to step out into the world for Jesus, we can expect the Lord to supply our needs.
That's right.
Listen to me. I'm telling you, you can expect supply to come. It will happen when you step up and you step out for Him. Let's read verse 4. Let's jump down to verse 4. Now, when Jesus speaks to the 72, by the way, when you read this, some say it's 70 that He sent out 2 by 2. Some say it's 72. It doesn't matter. Don't get lost in that. But when He spoke to this group of people, He said to them, do not take a purse or a bag or sandals. Read it there in verse 4. Don't take anything. Just go. Now, stay with me. That's not marching orders for everybody for all time. But that was for this particular group, for this particular time. He said, just go. Now, why did He do that? What Jesus here is promoting is that He wants you to prioritize your mission. In other words, put that number 1 and put your provision as secondary or tertiary down the line. In other words, don't make your safety and your preparation and having everything you need, don't make that priority. Make going your priority. That's what He's saying. What Jesus is doing here is he's creating a training experience. He's getting ready to train these 72 followers of his. He's wanting to show them what can happen. And so he said, don't take anything, because if you don't, then when the Holy Spirit, when that supply comes to you, when God takes care of you, you're going to stand back and say, whoa, look what God's doing. Look how he's blessing me. Look how he's providing, how he's opening doors. He said, don't get lost in getting ready. Just go. Because this was a learning experience. Just a personal example out of my life. I've got a beat up old Chevrolet pickup. Love that old truck. I've had it, it's got 200,000 miles on it. And for the second time in my life, I had a flat on 200,000 miles. You see, I'm not, is that possible? Well, it's happened to me. What's God doing? He takes care of me. Even the silly little things like flats. I believe God takes care of his children. Now, believe me, before you build a doctrine on this, though, and go silly on it, you have to understand that this is a training experience. And so realize that when the Lord leads, it's okay to make preparations if he tells you to make preparations. But in this situation, he said, go. Later on, in the gospel stories that follow, he told them in other times, take everything. In fact, he told one time, even take a sword with you. I don't know if you remember, but I preached on that one time, a long time ago, about I was conceal and carry. We talked about, what does God think about people that carry weapons with them? And I said, well, he told his disciples at one time to take a sword with them. And so I don't want to get back into that, but I wanted to remind you of it. So there's time to get things sorted out. There's times to prepare before you step out. But in all of that, don't get lost in that we are to be on mission and we're to go. If you don't have enough preparation, still go. Whatever it takes, go. Well, I hope we're all learning to trust the Lord in everything. One final thing tonight, and I'm going to pick this up Sunday morning and run further with it. So when we step out for Jesus, we're not to get sidetracked and waste time. Please hear that. Please hear my heart tonight. We're not to waste our time by getting sidetracked into side issues. You say, where are you coming from? Would you read the rest of that verse that we just finished? I think it was verse 4. Read the rest of verse 4. And do not greet anyone on the road. Now, what does he mean by that? Does that he means when you walk down the road, just keep your mouth shut and look straight ahead, don't make eye contact? No, that's not what he's saying at all. He's trying to say, don't get sidetracked. Now, what would happen is if we weren't careful, if you weren't prioritizing your mission, you'd get to walking down the road, you'd meet somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody that you knew, and you sit there for the next 6 hours sitting on the side of the road talking about who knew what and why, how that all got started. You with me? And he's saying, in other words, don't waste your time all day long sitting around talking about who's related to who. Right? He's trying to say, get on purpose. Get on your mission for the Lord. Don't spend the day talking about unnecessary or sideline issues. It's easy to get sidetracked, isn't it? Isn't it so easy? It's so easy in America to get sidetracked by this silly political thing we're going on. That's going on. It's easy to get sidetracked. Don't do that. What is that called? Denny, what does it say you had? We had OCDC. What was it? How do you say that? Oh, he gets it off so funny. It blows my. But if you're not careful, you'll see shiny things, right? And you'll follow shiny things. You'll be talking about something, and you'll get distracted. Well, a lot of people get lost in recreation and leisure time. Retired people especially. We get lost in our leisure. We deserve this. I've earned it. I worked hard. I can sit here. Well, yeah. But Jesus knows that we have a mission. And we're to be on purpose. And we need to go for Him. Well, we have a purpose and a mission. You can be successful in your mission because heaven has invested its resources in you. God's watching you. He knows where you're going. He knows what you're going to need. and He's going to supply those needs as you go. How many times have you heard me say, God never sends us our supplies while we're sitting on the couch?
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
He doesn't send us all those supplies while we're sitting there watching Oprah. Okay? It's when we get up and we start going that the supply comes. All right? So He's going to take care of you. Just step out on your mission. Take it seriously and watch for God to provide for you as you go down the road. Just watch for Him to provide. Amen?
Amen.
How many are ready to go? Let's go. Let's get up. Let's get off the couch and get about our Master's business and take the message of Jesus to this world. I want to commend you for what you've already been doing and encourage you and challenge you to keep running and keep fighting. Listen to me. Don't run into heaven full of energy. When you get there, be exhausted. Leave it all here. I mean, spend it hard here. Are you with me? I mean, put it all to work for Him right now. Don't plan on coasting into heaven, run in, out of breath, and wore out when you get there. You rest for eternity. Amen?
Amen.
Page number 8. Page 8. God sent His Son. They called Him Jesus. He came to love, heal, and forgive. He lived and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives. And then one day I'll cross that river. I'll find life's fine, no war with pain. And then as death gives way to victory, I'll see the lights of glory, and I know He lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know He holds the future, and life is worth the living just because He lives.
Oh, yes.